Hey there, Goa fans. This is Mark, DJ Solitaire here with episode DJ Solitaire here with episode 68 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I share in every episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. So today is this is the first track featuring this particular artist, and there's a kind of fascinating backstory here. I first heard of the project Eco on the Tip Blue compilation, the blue one that's mostly pink on the cover, with the track called Toxic Recall. So that would have been in sort of early 96. And then by March 15th, 97, I got my hands, I'll tell you why I know the date in a second, on Psychic Deli Volume 1. Can't find the cover or the CD of it. Right now it's somewhere. And the last track on here by Eco is UFOlk, like UFO and folk. It's like folklore and people. It's a kind of cool title. So this track Eco was actually produced. The project Eco was actually Ott, as in not his name is not OTT, as he's explained. His name is Ott, as in Otto without the O. Ott uh, hit it big time, I think around 2004, when his incredible down-tempo album Blumencraft came out on Twisted and launched him from being somebody who was working behind the scenes in the studio. You can see him in some footage that was filmed in the mid 90s at Butterfly Studios. Um, it launched him into, being on stage and a major internationally recognized producer. Absolutely phenomenal album. And these tracks are also phenomenal, despite the fact that Ott hates them. Uh, to which there's an extra twist. He had no intention on these tracks ever being released. He just wrote them, for a creative practice. He was not a fan of trance music, of Goa music. Uh, just, he worked in the studio and he did his work there. And a somebody he knew, sort of coworker or quote unquote friend, basically took the tracks around to a bunch of labels and sold them without Ott knowing. And without, obviously, the labels didn't know either. The story came out afterwards. So he was naturally not quite amused at finding that these tracks were released and somebody else got the money. As far as I know, that's how that happened. But yeah, so that was the story here. So this one came out on Psychic Deli, aka tied in with Phantasm. And John Phantasm told me, that he was presented with a number of the tracks. So I think the probably the one on tip might have gone out earlier, or it might just depend on when these finally came out. But he said, he was presented with a few tracks. He liked UFOlk the best, and that's the one that he took, and then the other ones ended up elsewhere. So now Ott did produce and consent to the release of another track that showed up in, I think it was Unusual Suspects 2 on Twisted Records, and that was due to me. I came across a CD at Maestro Posford's place in might have been 2004, and I just remember there were three tracks, and it said they were by Ott, and I listened to them. I was like, these are unbelievable. Why are these not out? And I was writing press releases for Twisted then, as I am now, and was sent a demo possibility of the Unusual Suspects Volume 2 lineup. And I said, mm, what about a track by Ott? Wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, I heard there's three amazing ones. And so Simon Holtam, who's running the show, went and he chose this one. So Hikikomori was, I can't even remember if it's the project name or the track name, but there we go. Anyway, that one was showed up on a Twisted compilation. I think it's a banger. I think all of them are. The other two, which I don't have, um, incredible. And Ott doesn't like any of them. he consented to that release at least, though. So thank you for that, Ott. And also thank you for producing this fantastic music that you don't like. And I'm really sorry, obviously, that it came out in such a nefarious way. And I've played a couple of these tracks quite a few times. This one, the most out of all of the eco tracks. I think this is absolute magic. It's a nighttime stormer. It's dark and mysterious, but also expansive and anguished. It has got, one of those tracks where I've talked about before, there's a complex combination of emotions, which is very much like the human experience. And I just think it's absolutely phenomenal. Not a particularly long one, about 6.5 minutes, and a very cool, sneaky introduction and also outro that makes for really great, DAT style ambient mixing, very atmospheric. And it can be mixed, of course, with kick as well. And then, the layering can be really wonderful. So I think I should stop talking for now until we start the music, and then I'll start talking again over it before I present it at the end, without my blabbering. So here we are with UFOlk by Eco. So this opening, just here, it's like this whisper, this sort of fading in, this sound that sort of creeps into the space. Now, a lot of DAT mixing at the time used to be like, you can imagine there's all of the music was this cloud of information that came onto the dance floor. And then when it was done with its message, it would move away. And this kind of introduction really works well for creating this kind of atmosphere. So you've got these metallic kind of, voices and machine-like sounds, and then this rhythm. That one note that goes up. And then this riff that comes in. Again, a little voice-like. And then the kick comes in. There's kind of all this mysterious kind of questioning, this brooding quality to this, that higher riff that's going on up there. And then get a variation of that. And then there's going to be this brilliant break as it builds up and then crashes in. That real nighttime kind of like explosive, tunnel vision kind of experience. And there's kind of this oscillating that's going on here, sort of back and forth, left and right, on and off. It's really almost like this sort of electrical storm kind of quality. It's really phenomenal. Listen to how all of those different sounds are, those sinewy, smooth sounds contrast and offset this rhythmic stuff. And then again, and then, these great intervals that we find in this music. And then we get that little shift up, and then it comes back down. That little question almost with that one note, and then we get that extra riff going on there. Notice that texture, how it's, almost doubling up with a different voice and adding some more texture, and then that little break. And then also with that, you hear that other sound, quite low, sneaking in the background. There's this wonderful shift. Nope, not yet. Every time I listen to it, I get confused in where it's going to come in. And there's a little bit, the tension keeps building up in this track really brilliantly, the way it's done over this arc. And that key change, very gently done. into this whole swirly cloud of electromagnetic information that's sort of spiraling around the dance floor. It's just absolutely hypnotic while also being uplifting and introspective. And again, all of those different emotions. And then again, this is all just swinging around. And then one spoken sample, flying saucers. And those sort of cascading sounds going up and down. I think now we're going to have the figuration that I thought was coming in earlier. Just the tension with that. Again, this one's getting louder now. It's more insistent, this spiraling sound. And here we've got, that exclamatory that's sort of anguished, what's going on and why is this happening kind of thing, which many of us have thought on the dance floor before. Hopefully for more existential reasons as opposed to why is this DJ playing this? Definitely not the case here. Just starts to unwind. Notice that drum roll. And then all of these sinewy voices will just start to fade out into the distance. Again, so it's like that cloud of information, it's communicated what it needs to, and now it goes away. Wow. I mean, just the kind of nighttime music that is not being made anymore in many respects. Again, that combination of anguish and uplifting. So it's, this is not like a cheery, happy kind of track, right? It's pretty deep and dark, but it's got direction and still got up that's going on. And so again, this is where there's this unique and really fascinating blend of elements that seem to be contradictory, but are really complementary. I can't remember at this point if I told the story of how I know I had this by March 97. And that is because Ollie played at Tyson Street, played that 4-hour set that I've talked about when we did, Shitty Stick and a couple of other tracks. And Antaro, who founded Spirit Zone, played after him, and he played this track. And somebody went running up to Ollie saying, "What is this track? Do you know what this track is?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And I was like, "Well, actually, I know." And I told him, and he wrote it down, and he was very happy. So you're welcome. And there we are. So also interesting that not every DJ knew every track that was around, right? All he knew, of course, a lot of tracks, but not this one. I've played this a lot. It's in my Spectrum set from May 23rd, 98. That's the first party I played at under the name Solitaire in Tokyo. This is when I remembered to hit, at the point in my set when I remembered to hit record after a very confusing start to the set. We'll check all the equipment, folks. And I've played it several times since, and it's an all-time favorite. Again, for that blend of emotions, the fantastic, really, this is great under the stars and, sort of, looking at, the vastness of space when you have these sounds swirling around, but also great in a club. An absolutely brilliant track, whether you think so or not, ought. And again, it ought not to have been released that way, pun fully intended, but in a sense, musically, existentially, I'm glad that it was, although, there's, again, really nefarious way for this to happen. So I will sign off. A bit of a shorter episode today, but after the massive one last week, and there is a doozy coming up next week. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for, as I sign off, the full track without my commentary. I'm Mark DJ Solitaire, signing off here from episode 68 of Retro Goa Explorations, and leaving you now with a wonderful track by Eco, aka UFOlk.